Okay, we're gonna get into our counter movement jump, and this is probably the most standard vertical jump test that you're gonna see. Counter movement is a stationary jump effort where the athlete can also utilize an arm swing. It's probably the best test of overall athletic power output that we can use. So we're gonna have Monika go and set herself up similar to the way we did with our block. The only difference is here she's now gonna be able to use an arm swing. So Mo, you just do your standing counter movement jump, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Good, go again. Good. So what we want to pay attention to in the counter movement jump, it's again, if you've watched the block jump video already, you'll know that it's important that we're loading our jump quickly. We're not spending too much time in the bottom, which Monika does a really good job of being quick into the bottom of the movement and coming out nice and quickly as well. But the big crux to this movement are these two things here, our arms. And with the arm swing, what you'll notice is Monika's doing an amazing job of not over accentuating the beginning of the arm swing, which is up. I see a lot of athletes do this huge upward sweep of the arms before going back into their counter movement. The reason I don't like to do this is if I have Monika, so I'm gonna have you slowly walk yourself through arms up, arms back, and I'm gonna talk this through a little bit. So as Monika, she loads her arms way up and then swings them back slowly. What's gonna happen here is that additional downward velocity that's too excessive is gonna cause her torso to fall quite a bit further forward than we'd like to see it. The reason I don't like to see the torso fall really far forward is that on the way up, as she unloads those hips, we tend to get a lot of horizontal travel. We want kind of a blend between using the hips and also squatting down into that jump as well. So for that, we like to cue the athlete to start with the hands out in front and the arm swing to happen quickly. As a volleyball athlete, it's also important that Monika learns how to do this in her approach, because if she's doing her approach and the arms come way up and way back, it can throw off her timing. It can also be just crazy distracting to look at as well. Quick, compact arm swing is something that's definitely going to be beneficial. Let's try the jump again with our normal arm swing, which is starting out in front of her body. And pay attention to what happens with her arms here. Good. Monika's utilizing a pendulum-based arm swing, which is where the arms travel backward quickly. We get a nice stretch that happens through the pec, the anterior or front part of the shoulder, and that will cause her arms or her muscles to shorten and launch her arms forward, aiding in her hip extension, which allows her to leave the floor. What's that?
One more.
What's that?
Do it again, one more time.
So we're gonna go ahead and do another jump attempt here. Let's take a look. And landing, awesome. Some common points of performance to pay attention to and errors that I see amongst athletes are the arm swing and the arm swing timing. What I see on a handful of athletes that I've worked with is the arms actually sweep and we get more of a flap or a circular motion to the arms. From a standing position, we don't necessarily want to see this because we're not getting the benefit of the backward swing, the internal stretch, and that recoil back through. So I'm going to have you try to demonstrate doing this jump with actually bringing your arms behind and kind of sweeping versus back and forth. You do that? Let's see what it looks like. There we go. So we get more of an arm circle. So we're really going to be aiming to use that pendulum style backswing to benefit the stretch reflex of the arm. The last point with our counter movement jump that's extremely important when testing is our head and eye line position. So I want you to set yourself back up. I want you to get yourself situated. I want you guys to watch her jump naturally, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So Monika has found out a way to kind of blend both a neutral head position and the ability to look up at the same time. But what we don't want to see, so if you set yourself back up, we don't want to see is what she's doing right now, which is keeping the head cranked back and staring at the target. The reason we don't want to, and come here closer, I'll let you know why, is that if we crank the head back, we get at our neck joint, we have our cervical vertebrae or our C-spine. There's a hinge there that happens with two of our vertebrae. Sorry, I've got your hair in my hand here. Two of our vertebrae. When we compress these two vertebrae or cause them to flex too aggressively, we actually compress some of the nerves that run from that spine and actually travel into her shoulders. So if we compress those, we're actually shutting off some of the potential energy that her shoulders can produce. So we like to keep the head neutral. We look forward and slightly upward, and making sure before we do that we get ourselves positioned into the area that we know we should be in. We know that nothing else is going to change. We know our feet are going nowhere. We know the floor is going nowhere. And we know the Vertec is going nowhere. So there's no need or use to stare at it the entire time. Monika can jump, and as she's leaving the floor, she can look up after the arm swing has already been executed. But if we're cranking the head back and then initiating the arm swing, we're shortchanging the amount of power that we can get back from the shoulders. Okay, so let's do a nice neutral head position. And then as we take off, we can look up. Awesome. And that's a wonderful job. Yep, go ahead again. Good. Now let's show them one attempt with the head cranked back. So keep the head up the whole time. Good, and I can see from my angle that the jump wasn't even loaded quite as aggressively, I think, because that probably felt a little bit awkward to keep the head back as well. So let's make sure that we're utilizing not only kind of that full power spectrum, but we're thinking about position in something like the counter movement jump to get all of the energy out of our body as possible. So when performing the counter movement jump, it's really important to understand that the power not only comes from our legs' ability to apply force, but also from our arms' ability to generate velocity. Don't shortchange your body's ability to create power.